Genesis chapter 20. This is awesome. Before we start chapter 20, I know you remember chapter 19, very exciting. But before we go to chapter 20, I want us to take a look quickly at Genesis chapter 12. Just a quick recap of something, and then we'll jump back here. Now, before I read this portion of Genesis chapter 12, which we have read before, but before I read this one, I would like to say something very quickly. I've heard certain people tell me things like, Abraham was a liar. I mean, he lied to Pharaoh. He lied to Abimelech. So Abraham was a liar. And they say things as well like Jacob also was a deceiver. You see all these great men of God in quote. See, they also had their own issues. Abraham a liar, Jacob a deceiver. And I tell them, I say, look, if you look at what Scripture says, the way Scripture says it, I know we've all sinned and fallen short. I'm not saying we haven't. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Abraham didn't sin. I'm not saying Jacob never sinned. No, I'm not. And I'm not saying anything like that. But when we begin to pull up terms like, you see, Abraham was a liar, the father of our father, in another sense, the father of nations, that he was a liar. When we begin to make such statements, we need to be careful, because we need to look at what the Scripture says before we make such conclusions. So I'm going to read something that we had read in Genesis chapter 12, and then we're going to go to Genesis chapter 20. Alright, so I'm going to start from Genesis chapter 12, and we're going to read from verse 14. Now, we remembered what happened, the famine in the land. Abraham leaves Canaan land and goes to Egypt. Okay, and at this point in time, Lot is still with him, so he's going with Lot, Sarai, as well. All right. So verse 14, it says, "And it came to pass that when Abram was come into Egypt, the Egyptians beheld the woman that she was very fair." This is Sarai. "The princes also of Pharaoh saw her and commended her before Pharaoh. And the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. And he entreated Abram well for her sake. And he had sheep, and oxen, and he-asses, and men-servants, and maid-servants, and she-asses, and camels. And the Lord plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues, because of Sarai, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram, and said, What is this that thou hast done unto me? Why didst thou not tell me that she was thy wife? Why said thou, She is my sister? So I might have taken her to me to wife. Now therefore behold thy wife, take her, and go thy way. And Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, Abram. And they sent him away, and his wife Sarai, and all that he had." Interesting. So Sarai tells Sarai, well, as we go into Egypt, these people are wicked. They might be wicked. When we go in, please do me this favor and tell them you're my sister, as opposed to telling them you're my wife, lest they take you and they kill me. And she agrees, and that's what happens. But then here we see what we really don't know what happens, or how Pharaoh got to know that Sarai was Abraham's sister. We don't know, because Sarai is already in Pharaoh's palace. Okay, so we don't know how he got to know. But we're going to read in chapter 20, and then he'll probably give us an idea. I'm not saying that is exactly what happened, but he'll give us an idea of what probably took place. Okay, so we're going to take a look. Now here it seems, because Abraham doesn't seem to have given any answer to Pharaoh at this point. Pharaoh says, "Why did you not tell me she's your sister? She's your wife. Why did he say she's your sister?" And then he sends him away with everything that he had. He doesn't give us any response. He doesn't tell us how Pharaoh got to know this. So we're going to jump straight to Genesis chapter 20. Let's see what that says. "And Abraham," note, verse 19, chapter 19, remember? Chapter 18, God has promised Abraham that he's going to have a son, Isaac. Okay? Chapter 19, we hear about Sodom and Gomorrah being destroyed and what Lot's daughters do to him. And there, the birth of the Moabites and the Ammonites ensues, takes place. Okay, so now we're jumping to chapter 20. It says, "And Abraham journeyed from thence towards the south country, and dwelt between Kadesh and Shur, and sojourned in Gerar. And Abraham said to Sarah, his wife, She is my sister. And Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah." Well, she's your sister, yeah? Okay, I like her. So he went and took Sarah. But God came to Abimelech, how? In a dream by night. We didn't see this as regards Pharaoh. But note what happens here. God came to Abimelech in a dream by night, and said to him, "Behold, thou art but a dead man, for the woman which thou hast taken, for she is what? A man's wife." But Abimelech had not come near her, and he said, "Lord, wilt thou slay also a righteous nation?" Probably, why is he making this statement? Wilt thou slay also a righteous nation? Probably, I'm just insinuating, probably because of what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah, an unrighteous nation. Okay? So probably that's why he's saying this. Remember, this is where? In a dream, by night. "Said he not unto me," did Abraham not say to me, "Sarah is my sister?" And she, even she herself said, "He is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and innocency of my hands have I done this." And God said unto him in a dream, still in a dream, "Yea, I know that thou didst this in the integrity of thy heart, for I also withheld thee from sinning against me." You see, not sinning against Abraham, but sinning against me. Sinning against me, God. "Therefore suffered I thee not to touch her." Remember, chapter 18, God has already promised Abraham, you're going to have a son this time next year. So to the best of our knowledge, we're going to see, I'm not sure, but to the best of our knowledge, it's either this happened, well, it happened after Sodom and Gomorrah, clearly. Alright, so whatever is taking place here, we don't know if Sarah is already pregnant. Because remember, whenever God commanded Abraham to do a thing, Abraham would do it almost immediately or very early the next morning. So we don't know if after God has mentioned to him that, well, Sarah is going to conceive this time next year, if he has already gone into action. So it's possible that Sarah is already carrying this seed. Alright? "Now therefore restore the man his wife, for he is a prophet. And he shall pray for thee, and thou shalt live." Note here, "And if thou restore her not, know thou that thou shalt surely die, thou and all that are thine." Note here that Abimelech has a choice. God has put forth a word, but Abimelech, the person that he's speaking to, has what? A choice. Because he tells him, if not, that means if you don't, you have a choice. This is what I've commanded you to do. But if you don't do it, this is what is going to happen. Verse 8. "Therefore Abimelech rose how early? Early in the morning, and called all his servants, and told all these things in their ears. And the men were sore afraid. Then Abimelech called Abraham, and said unto him," listen carefully, "What hast thou done unto us? And what have I offended thee, that thou hast brought on me and on my kingdom a great sin? Thou hast done deeds unto me that ought not to be done." You see, he's talking from the grieving of his heart, you can tell. "And Abimelech said unto Abraham, What sawest thou that thou hast done this thing? Why did you do this? Are you trying to destroy us?" And Abraham said, "Because I thought, surely the fear of God is not in this place, and they will slay me for my wife's sake." Probably the same thinking that he had when he went to Egypt. "And yet indeed she is what? My sister." He's clarifying it that way. She is my sister. I did not lie to you. She actually is. So those that say Abraham lied, was a liar, we need to be careful, because she surely was his sister. Sarah was. She is the daughter of who? my father. So that was Abraham's what? Step sister. Same father, different mothers, but not the daughter of my what? Mother. And she became my wife. What would you call a lady who is the daughter of your father, but not of your mother? Is she your sister? Of course she is. So he did not lie. He did not lie. He spoke the truth. And it came to pass, when God caused me to wander from my father's house, Ur of the Chaldeans, that I said unto her, This is my kindness which thou shalt show unto me. At every place whither we shall come, say of me, He is my brother. And Abimelech took sheep, and oxen, and men servants, and women servants, and gave them unto who? Abraham. Note what Abimelech gives to Abraham. In chapter 12 with Pharaoh, it does not say exactly. Somebody had asked me and said, how do you know Hagar came from Pharaoh? Well, this is one of the scriptures that makes me allude to that. Okay, because here you see Abimelech giving these things as well as people to Abraham. Okay? And restored him who Sarah his wife. And Abimelech said, Behold, my land is before thee. Dwell where it pleaseth thee. Opposite of what Pharaoh did. Pharaoh does what? Drives them out. Abimelech says, Stay. Okay? And unto Sarah he said, Behold, I have given thy brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Behold, he is to thee a covering of the eyes, unto all that are with thee, and with all other. Thus she was reproved. Thus she was reproved. This is a very powerful statement. He says, And unto Sarah he said, Abimelech speaking, Behold, I have given thy brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Note what he's calling him. Thy who? Brother. He doesn't say thy husband. Because of a truth, it's her brother. Behold, he is to thee a what? Covering of the eyes. Covering of the eyes. Unto all that are with thee, and with all other. Thus she was reproved. Behold, he is to thee a covering of the eyes. Those that understand that will understand it. Verse 17. So Abraham prayed unto God, and God healed Abimelech, and his wife, and his maidservants, and they bare children. For the Lord had fast closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech, because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Now, this occurrence, I'd like to say this again. This occurrence happens. It won't be. Let me say it this way. Sarai probably, and I almost have no doubt about it, at this point, like I said earlier, is already with seed. She's already with seed. Okay? Because there would be a period of time where the wombs of these people are closed. There will be a period of time. Now, Sarai is going to give birth a year later from the day that the Lord spoke in chapter 18. So they could not have been here for up to a year. But then probably those women, during that period that they stayed there, we don't know how long it was, there was barrenness in the land. Women were unable to bear children. Because chapter 21, if you look at the first verse, it says, And the Lord visited who? Sarah, as he had said. So it's chronological, the events are. Okay? So from chapter 18 to chapter 21, we're looking at about 9 months to a year, probably. Okay? So chapter 20 is in the midst of that. So it's very possible, like I said, Sarah was already with seed. Okay. So that's it for chapter 20. We're going to be jumping into 21 next time we meet. Thank you again, and God bless you all.